We are looking at live pictures of a protest in Memphis, Tennessee. This protest comes nearly 24 hours after the release of video showing police beating Tyre Nichols. This is the second protest since the video came out last night. You know, police violence against Black Americans is not some intermittent phenomenon. It's actually been a constant in our history. And it is the activists, those folks you just saw in that video, who scoop up the embers of momentary outrage and work to harness them into infernos that can create lasting change. Joining me now is one of those activists, DeRay McKesson. He's co-founder of the Campaign Zero and host of the Pod Save the People podcast. DeRay, I am very glad you were able to join us today. Let's talk police budgets and police policies, right? Because the important thing there is that they are largely set in local jurisdictions. So the whole conversation I just had with the political panel about what Congress can do, we have to understand that there is a limit to Congress's ability to create change here locally. So what does a coordinated effort to secure reforms look like at the local level?
Yeah, so Simone, you're absolutely right. To zoom all the way out there, 18,000 police departments. The federal government can do two big things. The first is that the federal government funds almost all the major police departments in the country. So they can condition funding on changes. And that's essentially what the George Floyd Act would do in substantive ways if it passes. But they can't make the states and cities do anything, really. The second thing the federal government can do is that it can model things in the big agencies at the federal level. So while most of the police departments are local, Border Patrol's 20,000 people. And, you know, the Biden administration did tighten up the use of force rules, did tighten up the no-knock raid rules, and that can be a model that states and cities can implement. But most of what's going to matter is actually at the local level. Tennessee attempted to weaken the power of the police or rein in the power of the police in 2021, wrote a lukewarm bill. We worked with them on it. And what they did do is actually require the duty to intervene, that if officers see excessive force being used, they have to intervene. And that law is one of the things that helped the Memphis Police Department fire these 5 officers as quick as they did. But it is not enough. There are a lot more things that can be done and that need to be done in moments like this.
So according to a Memphis government website, the policies that are outlined in the 8 Can't Wait police reform initiative that you helped create, that they are all actually a part of its current policy. Is that true? Because that's what the website says.
Yeah, it's not true. So if you go to 8can'twait.org, you can actually see our analysis of their policy. And, you know, again, to zoom out, we actually map all the killings by police at mappingpoliceviolence.org. But when you look at it, it's like they have not banned chokeholds and strangleholds. So what they did do is that they banned chokeholds, but there's another type of restraint called a stranglehold, and Memphis will not ban that. In terms of requiring de-escalation, they actually require training on de-escalation. They don't actually require de-escalation. They don't require a warning before deadly force is being used. They don't require that the police have to report every time they point their gun at people. They don't ban shooting moving vehicles. So there's a lot more work to be done.
It seems like there's a lot more that they could have done.
Yeah, and I look at the website and I'm like, why are you telling people you did all these things? Y'all didn't do that. And the state of Tennessee actually should just, you know, we think about this as harm reduction, not transformational change. This is to save people's lives in the moment. But, you know, 40% of the budget going to the police, we should reallocate those funds to community services. We can do a lot more to shift the resources away. And remember, nationally, only 5% of 911 calls are actually for violent crime, Simone. Most of what people call the police for are not violent.
DeRay McKesson, you had to come back because this is something we are going to stay on. I appreciate you injecting the data into this conversation because it is critical. Thank you for being here. And that wraps up this edition of Simone. This was difficult. This was emotional. Check on everybody. Check on your loved ones. A lot of people are not okay. There are folks that may need someone to talk to right now. When I saw that video, I saw my husband, I saw my brothers, I saw my uncles, I saw my nephews. It's problematic. I'm Simone Sanders Townsend, and I will be back here on MSNBC at 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Politics Nation with the great Reverend Al Sharpton picks up things right after this with what I am just positive will be a powerful conversation with the mother and stepfather of Tyre Nichols and with attorney Benjamin Crump.